Theresa May has fucked up big time, in my opinion, and here's why. On the 14th of November 2018, Theresa May presented the draft Brexit deal to her cabinet. Mind, that is a draft deal 2.5 years after the 23rd of June vote, but I'll come to that later. Following apparently lengthy discussions with her cabinet, we see the resignation of cabinet members McVeigh, Raab, and also junior members Braverman and Vara. This is also after the resignation of Brexit Secretary Davis, who previously resigned. There were 3 ways May could have approached Brexit after taking the post of Prime Minister from David Cameron. 1. An extreme version of the so-called soft approach, where the UK effectively remained in the EU and little changed. 2. The so-called hard approach, where the UK exited immediately from every aspect of the EU. And 3. A diplomatic solution. The exiting members of her government proved that a hard-out exit was the only option and actually what the people voted for. The people didn't vote for somewhere between yes and no, some piggy in the middle or fuzzy solution. The vote consisted of 2 clear questions by way of boxes to tick. Do you want to exit the EU, or do you want to remain in the EU? I don't recall a 3rd box to tick that asked, do you want something in between? Her diplomatic approach has in fact satisfied no one. She's failed the exiters and she's failed the remainers. She has not won the support of a single person in the UK. However, if she had played the hard Brexit card, she knew that she would always satisfy the majority of the country that voted to exit. By playing anything other than a hard approach, she would ultimately fail. As I say, her logic was and is flawed, and she fucked up big time. As John Lydon said in his autobiography, politicians don't believe in anything. If they do believe in anything, then it is staying in government and being elected, which equates to getting votes. By adopting a hard Brexit approach, Theresa May knew that she would have kept the majority happy and ultimately kept the majority of votes. But by not adopting such an approach, she alienated the majority of voters and hence forsake the golden rule of a politician, ensuring first and foremost they continue to get votes. Thus we see that she failed on this count too. For some people, as soon as someone like Theresa May becomes Prime Minister, they immediately hate her and start their assault. For me, my view was, give the woman a chance. However, after 2.5 years and the UK and EU Brexit deal is still in draft form, then her leadership is nothing more than a disgrace and laughable. Again, there are 3 ways to interpret this. 1. She's been naive. 2. She's working for the EU fascists. And 3. She's trying to be diplomatic. As previously discussed, we concluded that diplomacy was always failed. I find it hard to believe that someone like Theresa May and her ministers and political advisers are naive. So that leaves that she's actually working for the EU fascists. And this is my conclusion of Theresa May. She was never fully committed to Brexit and leaving the EU because her heart was never in it to simply walk away from the EU, because deep down she wants to be part of the EU Fascist State. There's an additional point on her naivety and the naivety of her ministers and advisers. Negotiating with the EU fascists about the best deal for the UK is not some sort of game of chess with a fixed set of rules. There are in fact no hard and fast rules, and the rules are made up as you go along. The key objective of the EU fascists was, and is, always to make leaving the EU as difficult as possible, to stop a run on other EU countries. A monkey could have pointed this out after the Brexit vote back in June 2016, and yet she kept flying over to the EU fascists to do deals and be seen to negotiate, while all the time they said, there's this rule, and there's that rule, and you must do this, and you must do that, etc. When she should have just told them to fuck off and say we are out of this nonsense within 3 months max, and on the 23rd of September 2016 we are out of here, take it or leave it. But she didn't do this, as I say. She was either naive, which I find hard to believe, or not fully committed to exiting the EU Fascist State. Yes, on all counts, Theresa May has fucked up big time, and fucked the British electorate good and proper.